What have you been up to? That's the question that's been asked of me for the past few weeks, since a bit on my last video. People who knew me from my last job, people who knew me from college. Basically the first thing they ask me is, what am I up to? And it's a difficult question to answer because it's one that people want a specific answer to. They think because I've done a teaching degree, I'll be out looking for teaching jobs. Two problems with this. One, it presupposes that's what I want to do with my life right now. And two, it assumes that there are teaching jobs within my area. There aren't. The basic gist of this is that because the class sizes have been increased every year for the past few years with the recession and all sorts of economic problems, the number of teachers in schools has gone down. And recently the government has announced that ASTI teachers and TUI teachers, but ASTI ones are at risk, could be made redundant as a result of Haddington Road agreements and all sorts of things, essentially meaning that any teachers who are in schools are there because they are needed, and any teachers who aren't are joining the rest of the teachers who are then looking for all the same positions as everyone else in the country. The problem with me is that I also don't have my own form of transport, so that I'm limited to where I can get to from a bus from my house. While I can go into the city centre, it is then 2 buses, which means I have an hour and a half travel time at least every morning to get to a school, which means being out of the house at 7:30. Obviously not such a bad thing, but if you plan on doing sub work, it means you have to be up and ready to leave the house at 7:30 every single morning without any guarantee you'll actually be working. So at the moment, I'm still working in the bookshop. I'm minding my niece twice a week. She's 8 months old and she's adorable. I'm writing, I'm reading, and I'm directing a play. Doesn't sound like I'm doing much, but somehow fills my entire day. And that is the kind of gist of what I'm doing right now, except it doesn't really say what I'm really doing. There's no specifics in it. At the moment I just finished reading The Millionaire Messenger by Brendan Burchard. It's written to encourage people towards the expert industry. What I'm using it as is a framework for kind of planning my future. With that in mind, I've gotten articles and things planned to go up on my website. I'm planning to interview lots of different authors, both indies and established. None of the established have been contacted, so this is all going to be fun. And I'm going to be starting all that in January, basically from January 1st. And while normally I would have said this is a New Year's thing, New Year's resolution, do all this sort of stuff, it's actually just because I've got so much work in the bookshop for this month that I don't actually have time to start releasing all of this content that doesn't actually exist yet until January, when I can actually start planning things efficiently, when I have significantly less hours in the bookshop, which means less money coming in and essentially destroying my chances of doing a master's in September if I don't get more hours in February and March and April, etc. But the basic breakdown is that from January onwards I'm going to be pretty busy, but it's all from work that I'll be starting to do now. And that is essentially what I'm up to, but trying to explain that to people in a way that is satisfactory to them and wouldn't just be summarised by my brother as publishing crap, that gets difficult. And that is the problem I have when people saying, Paul, what are you up to? Because I don't have an answer that people will really want to hear. Does that make sense? So that's pretty much it. On December 24th, I'll hopefully have a reading of a poem that's currently going up on my Poetry and Prose site, Paragraphers. It's called The Winter Folk. It's going up in 12 parts, but they're all very, very small parts. I'll link the first one in the description. And I'm hoping to just, do a proper reading of it, just to have a video, and I can put that up with part 12.